Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing? Back with a reading. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope you like the reading. I hope you subscribe. I hope you stick around. I hope you engage with the channel. If you are returning, thank you. Appreciate it. I always appreciate your attendance. If you are unaware of how my readings work, these are general collective readings. So the point is to get messages that help you deal with the decisions that you have to make every week, day to day, every week of your life. So even if a very specific message, as far as the exact details of that message, don't resonate with your life, maybe the message and the lesson from those messages will help you make some wiser decisions moving forward, or help you make a decision about a crossroads that you might be at in your life, a fork in the road. So that's the go. So the way these general collective readings work is there are a lot of messages. Again, every message is not going to resonate, but maybe the lesson behind the message might resonate for you. If I tell you that an alien is coming down to talk with you about the business plan that you guys discussed last week, and you did not speak with the alien, then maybe that prediction isn't for you, but maybe it's some information in that message that might help you out with a future decision that you might have to make. All right, so that's how we take these general collective messages. So I wanted to start off with these oracles, and these are some oracles that will help you center yourself and pinpoint what areas of your life you need to pay a little bit closer attention to, right? So the first card I wanted to discuss is the Solitude card that I pulled for you. And if you can see here, this could be a couple of different things here. Obviously, I think we live in a world where extrovert personalities and activities are at the forefront, right? We live in a world that's connected. We live in a world with people. We live in a world, we don't live in a world by ourselves, right? And so the need and the want of constant connection is always the monkey on our backs, whether you want that constant connection or you don't. If you're an extroverted person, then you constantly crave that connection. If you're more of an introverted person, that connection can be a little bit of a burden for you. So this message is for everyone, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert. And while I'm telling you this, I'm going to be giving my doggie a snack because that is what she wants. Now, my doggie is a good example. It's funny that I was like, you know what? She needs a snack right now. My dog is definitely an extrovert. She is definitely an extrovert, whereas my cat is an introvert with extroverted tendencies. But my dog is an extrovert all the time, every time, from sun up to sundown. You can wake her up in the middle of her sleep to give her attention, and she's game for it all the time, every time. Now, what I have to do with her is I have to make her calm down because she gets overly excited with too much stimulation, and that's a tendency of extroverted people. They get really distracted and excited about stimulation. Stimulation is the thing that does it for them, right? Whereas if you're an introverted person, you have a tendency to crave solitude from the stimulation. Too much stimulation overstimulates your sensories, and it can drain you and make you feel anxious and exhausted, right? So that's a huge difference between extroverts and introverts. And so my advice, whether you are whichever side of the fence you sit on, whether it's extrovert or introvert or somewhere in between, it's always, 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 always a necessity to center yourself and find solitude at some point. So if you're somebody who craves more stimulation, you're somebody who craves that stimulation. You love it. It gives you life. You're something like, no, I never, I want the stimulation. You have to understand that everything in healthy balance. So just because you want a thing, like I want coffee 24/7 all day, every day. That's what I love, but I can't, that's not healthy. It's very, very unhealthy to drink coffee all day. Now, it's not horrible to do 1 cup of coffee or even 2 cups of coffee, depending on your body and your chemical makeup. But just because you want a thing and the external jolt of adrenaline or endorphins that it gives you seems positive doesn't mean it's always the most positive thing for us. So everything in moderation, healthy moderation, right? Just like with an introvert, it's not healthy to isolate yourself from the world and interactions with people forever. That's not healthy. That's a very unhealthy way to deal with stressors and being overstimulated. So there's something here about finding solitude, but a healthy solitude, right? This might be something as simple as going for a nature walk, because she is in nature. But if you're not a nature person, I know a lot of people preach going into nature and reconnecting with nature and things like that. And that is great. I totally suggest that for everyone. But I am a nature person. If you are not someone who's really big on nature, and that is not your thing, then you can simply do this in your space, or find a space where you can find the solitude by yourself, whether it's in the shower. If you're like, I have a house full of kids and a husband and a wife, blah, blah, blah. I work. Where am I going to find that? If it's the 20 minutes that you need in the shower to kind of meditate and reflect on your day, when you're in your shower, you're in the shower. Nobody can. That's your time, right? Or the bath, or on the toilet, or however you need to find that space to kind of reflect on the things that bring you peace and bring you calm and not overstimulate you. Regardless if you love that overstimulation, you'll get back to it. It's not going nowhere. The world still exists outside, but there needs to be a reconnection with self so that you don't get lost in all of the things that can overstimulate you in life. So that's what the solitude card is about. And it's the same thing with the unplugged card, but the unplugged card specifically, I think in our day and age, really has more to do with unplugging from social media, unplugging from your phone. Take a day off from talking to people. Like, I think it's the healthiest thing in the world to just not be on your phone for a day. Just, unless it's an emergency, unless you absolutely need me for something, I'm just going to cut out casual conversation for just one day. And just take this day to be disconnected from all of the, the electronic stimulation. So it's one thing, like I think you should take some time during your day to disconnect from everything outside of yourself, right? To center yourself and find yourself. Then I think this should be a day, one day out the week, or if one day out the week is too much, maybe try 2 weeks, one day out every 2 weeks, or one day out the month, where you literally unplug, not necessarily from the people in your immediate life. That I think you should spend the day unplugging from your electronic stimulations to spend more time connecting with the people in your immediate life. Literally put down the phone, literally close the laptop, literally cut off the, just don't check the social media. Like, put your phone aside, put the laptop aside, and spend time with your close personal connections again, right? So that's what I think the unplug card is about. It's more about, yes, unplugging, but I think it's more unplugging with all of the distractions, the electronic distractions from the news. Like, if you're somebody who's addicted, I know my mom is somebody who's addicted to the news, and I'm like, Mom, what is it doing for you to constantly hear these sad, depressing, violent stories? Oh, we know the world is a effed up place. I don't need that constant reminder in my head all the time about every new effed up situation or potential danger that I could face when I step outside my house. So just unplug from the thing that you're normally plugged into when it comes to the electronic world, right? Not your immediate world. And then you have these two cards. I wanted to keep these cards. I really honestly did not want to pull as many cards, these oracle cards, as I did. I did not want to. But then these two cards came out at the end, and the first two messages are very different than these two cards. And I wanted to do this because, yes, it's very peaceful to give the message of like peace and solitude, but this is very real, very active. This is the stimulation, or one of the stimulations, that the first two cards is telling you that you might, specifically if you're somebody who is having some sort of epiphany when it comes to your sex life, your dating life, how you engage in dating, and how you approach meeting people and engaging with people. So there might be someone out there specifically who is at a crux or is at a crossroad about that specific area of their life. And this is like, I'm getting vibes of like a born again Christian or born again virgin. So it might not be, like I said, your specific situation, but that's like the vibes I'm getting, where you've gone down a rabbit hole in your life. You might be at a certain age in your life, 25, 28. The number 28 is popping out at me. So it might be somebody specifically who's at this age where at 28, where specifically if you're a female, but this could also be male, because I think it's more significant when a male goes through this epiphany in their life, because it is so embedded in us as a culture and as a people, specifically within, masculine energies, regardless if you're born a male or a female, masculine energies, it's embedded in the masculine mainframe to not care about sex and your sexual energy and who you give that to. That is like, we're taught that from a young age, that boys want sex and that is okay. That's who they are, or masculine energies want sex. And that's a huge part of their identity, their sexual prowess, right? God forbid you're a male who doesn't want, sex all the time. That is a shame. Shame on you. How are you a masculine energy who doesn't want sex all the time? That says something about you. And if you pull back the layers of some of those deep rooted, stereotypes and, misconceptions about what it means to value your sexual energy, we have some really messed up ways that we condition men to think about sex. I'm not saying there are not men out there who genuinely enjoy the freedom that society gives them to be complete dogs and run around and spread their sexual energy all over the world with no responsibility. No, there are, messed up people all over the world. There are men who absolutely take advantage of that, enjoy that, and think that every man should have that right, and every man should be that. And those are those toxic male alpha energies that push that narrative on other masculine energy. Like, this is what being a man is. And if you're not this, then you're less of a man. You're less of a man if you don't want to spread your sexual energy everywhere and conquer everything with your sexual energy, right? So those, I'm not saying it's all society. Yes, men do thrive in that space. But I feel like when you find a masculine energy who does not see their sexual energy that way, or who has had an epiphany, who has grown as a person, specifically spiritually, to where they don't value spreading their sexual energy all over the place with no responsibility and no justification, and they take responsibility in their sexual energy and where it goes and who they give it to, and they value it. That is a spiritual maturity, emotional maturity, sexual maturity that you don't find typically in masculine energies, because we live in a world that celebrates that immaturity and irresponsibility of sexual energy and masculine energy. So that's why I think it's more significant when it happens, when you see it with a masculine energy. But regardless, it's an epiphany of any gender or person. So whether it's a male or a female, there's something here where somebody has come to a epiphany about their sexual energy, what they do with it, what they want to do with it in the future, and who they want to give it to, and a new appreciation and valuing of that sexual energy. And so the first two cards might have a lot to do with just, or maybe you need to go through that before this is the next phase of that, finding yourself in solitude and understanding what you want and where you need to go. And you might be at an age where you've come to the realization that a lot of the frivolous, activity and frivolous, spreading of your sexual energy has amounted to a lot of nothing. And it was fine when you were younger and you were just having fun, but then you get older in life and you start wanting more out of life. And it's so funny, because age is such a weird thing, because you go through the phases of being young and just wanting to have fun and wanting to experience things with no strings attached and no, deep thought about anything, right? You're young. You're not supposed to think too heavily about, having fun. It's just fun. And then you wake up one day and you're like 28 years old and you're knocking on 30, and you just assume that your life would take a certain path, right? You assume that by 27 you would get married. You assume that you would have a decent career and have at least a kid, have a house, and have, all of these things, these assumptions that you make as you're going through life, not really giving a F. And then you wake up one day and you're like 27, 28, 29, 30, and you're like, where did the time go? Because after 25, when people tell you after 25, everything just, it's like a flat, like you're 25 and all of a sudden you're 35. And you're like, what the hell? How did that jump happen? And so you start to panic a little bit. You start to panic a little bit and you start to think, oh my goodness, what did I do with the past 5-10 years of my life? What was I doing? Where was I going? What, all the stuff that I gave my energy to amounted to nothing because it wasn't meant to be anything. Now I have to start thinking about investing in things that are going to be long term and have an investment and a plan in the future. And so one of the things that someone is thinking about very heavily is their sexual energy, where it goes, who they use it on, how it benefits them, right? Does it benefit me to give my sexual energy out to everyone? What do I get back from that? This is about investing into my future and me giving my sexual energy to everyone and everything. Am I investing in anything? Am I getting anything back from that in the long term? So this here is about having sovereignty over your sexual energy and your sexual province and who you give it. See, if you see this person here, whether it's a man or a woman, he's standing in front of it. It's almost like, it reminds me of the muses. I don't know if this is the muses, because this might be like Artemis and Athena, and there's some sort of Greek goddesses. I'm not going to look into which ones, but because for me, it's the muses. So it's somebody looking at these muses, and the muses inspire inspiration and the arts and things like that. And there's something here about being inspired to invest in your future. And in order to do that, you have to have a certain governance over the things that you give your energy to, specifically your sexual energy or your time as far as dating. Before, maybe you enjoyed dating, just like, I like casual dating. I like meeting people. I like, having a lot of different energies. Again, that stimulation. I like having a lot of different energies around me, a lot of different, maybe I don't need every relationship to be serious or grounded or rooted. I just like, having fun and being able to call this person or that person and hang out with this, and there's something here about having governance over where you spend your time, like getting to that place where you're more informed or aware or grounded and want more governance and sovereignty, or who you spend your time with, who you give your sexual energy to, what, roots you're planning, who you're planting those roots with, and how are those roots going to grow, and how are you going to nurture those roots, and who do you want to nurture those roots with? So that's what's coming up for me here. And I think somebody is going through that right now and really taking the time to really understand that part of themselves and that part of their journey and their potential future. Okay, so that is that. We're going to get into, I shuffled these cards a little bit because I thought I was going to use them for some clarification, but I did not need them. Again, you have cards of rest and solitude, and then the Knight of Cups in the reverse. Somebody here is really, so this is just a continuation of the message before. Somebody here is really, really rooted and grounded and thinking about who they want to date and who they want to spend time with. But this is specifically about their emotional space, because the Knight of Cups in the reverse here with the Four of Swords, like the Knight of Cups in the reverse is somebody who's very frivolous with their emotional space. Like they'll give their emotion. So the thing about it is, whether this is you going through this epiphany, figuring this out about yourself, or you dealing with someone who's figuring this out about themselves, or you're figuring this out about someone. So this is about figuring, because it's all cards of contemplation about the emotional energy outputs. This is about the output of emotions that someone or you give to other people. So there's Knight of Cups in the reverse is a very frivolous, fickle energy, right? It's very fickle. And in order to have that kind of fickleness, which is like a oxymoron in a sense, is that you have to be really engaged. In order to be that fickle, you actually have to be really engaged with the acknowledgement that you are going to pull away at the exact right moment to get what you want out of it, but to make sure that it doesn't turn into something more. And the amount of energy it takes to consistently, like if you think about, okay, so think about a campsite, right? And this is the only thing that scares me about camping. It's not the act of camping. I love camping. But what I've done it before and I hate it. And I don't know why I hate it so much. But when I tell you I hate setting up a tent, it's one, you know how people say like certain house tasks really irritate them. Like some people really hate washing dishes. Like I'll clean the whole house, but something about washing dishes just irritate me, or something about doing laundry just irritates me, or I could do the laundry, but I really hate folding the clothes, or really hate taking out the trash, or I can take out the trash, but something about putting the trash bag in the trash, just that one step is just the thing that I just really cannot stand. Like that's the thing I can't stand to do. And like getting stuff ready, going, getting to the campsite, doing the camping, roughing it in the all that stuff. I mean, I do not care about none of that. But there is something about setting up a tent that drives me absolutely bonkers. I hate it to death. I try to do it as fast as possible. And then if I'm in charge of setting up the tent, it's going to be wrong because I do not want to mentally think about what I need to do in order to set this tent. I just cannot stand setting up tents. I don't know why. I hate it. I don't know why. And so if you think about this, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent about how much I hate setting up tents. But if you think about the Knight of Cups and that energy output of the Knight of Cups in the same way, to consistently be fickle and jump from one emotional exchange to another, to the next, to the next, to the next. The amount of energy output it takes to consistently set up a new post of emotional engagement just to pull away before you nail that tent in the ground. So this is like going to a campsite. The thing you hate to do is setting up a tent. Setting up the tent, but not putting the nails in long enough to hold that tent down. And then taking up the tent. Once you're done, whatever you set it up, you don't really nail it in all the way. And you take it up, you put it in the truck, and you go to the next campsite. And then you set it up, don't nail it down all the way. You take it up and you put it in a truck and you go to another campsite, and you just consistently do that over and over again. And you're never actually camping. You're just setting up a tent, never really nailing it all the way down, taking it back up, getting in a truck, going to another campsite and doing the same thing over and over and over again. The amount of energy, and no rest in between, the amount of energy that it takes to consistently do that thing would be exhausting. And the people who have these fleeting relationships, who consistently go from one campsite to the next, setting up tents, but never really nailing them down in the ground just to pick them back up to go to another place to do the same thing. That's how they treat relationships. And that is exhausting to like an introvert. To an introvert, it seems like that seems so exhausting and unnecessary. Why wouldn't you just want a deep connection, set up a campsite, nail the nail in all the way, and spend a weekend or a week there? And so you get some time to relax and get to enjoy the campsite. You don't get to enjoy the campsite or the experience. But the people who are in this Knight of Cups energy, who enjoy the fickleness, don't want the comfortability. They don't want it. They don't crave the comfortability. They crave that constant movement, that constant energy output. And it's like consistent energy output, and that's very different from people who find that exhausting, right? I particularly find it exhausting to consistently meet new people and consistently have to form superficial relationships just to break away from them, just to go do it again. Some people love that. And so this is some sort of contemplation here where somebody's either getting tired of that behavior or you're noticing that behavior in another person, right? And so this is coming to realizations about self, about other people, about what you want out of life, and about what you have the energy for anymore. Let's see if we can get a different message here. So that message was definitely in line with the Oracle cards. So let's see if we can get another message. And I'm going to move on to some other cards here. Some romance cards. I actually haven't done a romance reading in quite some time. Okay, so again, it's about emotions here. And now we're talking about blocked emotions, and we're talking about somebody who needs to heal. Again, being tired. Like this Knight of Wands in the reverse is being exhausted, really. And the Nine of Cups here, somebody's emotionally exhausted. So this might be someone, again, when you talk about unplug, and somebody doesn't have again, it's about energy output. Somebody does not have the energy to give to situations. And this might be, regardless if it's like romantic, this does not have to be romantic. This is just in general. not having the energy to give, and somebody realizing that about themselves. And I think, it can be commended for people to know what their limit is, because I think oftentimes people don't know what their limit is of their energy output. Like, they have no idea. You have just always been conditioned to always give. If somebody wants your attention, you give it to them. You are absolutely rude, and it's the worst thing you could do. Regardless if you're on the verge of suicide, then commit suicide. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you're on the verge of shooting up your workplace or a school or whatever. I'm being extreme, but that's because we live in an extreme world. Literally, mass shootings happen almost every month now, because people don't know what their energy output is and when it's coming to hitting their max, and other people don't care. It's like, I don't care. If people want your attention, you give it to them. We don't care where that drives you. You give it to them. Like, people think the worst thing in the world is you not engaging with them. Literally. That is the worst thing you could, like, the worst thing worse than committing suicide or committing worse than that. How dare you not give me your attention when I want your attention, right? The worst thing you can do to people. And I think we need to get to a space in society where we realize that having other people's attention is not the most important thing in the world, especially if it comes at another person's expense. So it's about knowing what your limit of your energy output is, right? Understanding that, and then not letting someone push you past that boundary, because this is a boundary of energy output here. I'm at my limit of what I can give to other people emotionally, and now I need to just be emotionally content within myself without having to give past my boundary. So it's about understanding your emotional boundaries and then not feeling guilty when you pull back as soon as you're getting to that boundary. And if people don't understand that, then they need to do some work on themselves and kind of get to a point where they ask themselves, why does it matter to you so much that you have this person's attention? Like, it reminds me of my animals. I can tell you a funny story. I regret it now. I'm older. I'm more mature. I'm much more patient. But this is a story, and this is true. And this is me telling on myself, okay? Because I'm not trying to make myself sound great right now, but I did it. I was in my 20s, and I had assistant manager position for this company. And I had a good maybe 10 to 12 employees, well, maybe a little bit more than that, but from 10 to 15 employees on a given day that I had to, keep in line and, but also do my job, because obviously there was an administrative aspect to the job I had to do. But when you are a manager, specifically an assistant manager, because you're a little closer to the employees at that point, you deal with them a little bit more than the manager or the district manager or vice president and things like that. You're a little closer to the employees, and they get really comfortable with you, right? Because you're in a position of, it's kind of like, I feel like in work or at work, when you're in a position of authority, you have a very like teacher, student, or mom, or, child parent sort of relationship with employee. That happens, right? Not with all employees, but a lot of employees, because you're in a position of authority, they want to always talk to you or be around you, or, and then they don't realize that you have to engage with employees because you have to have that relationship with them, because it's about managing people. But you also have your own duties on the side that have to do with administrative things. And so when you constantly have employees that constantly need the manager's attention, you always have those employees. They're there. They're there. And this one day, it was just a frustrating day for me. And then it was like a 13-hour day or something like that I had to spend at work, because something had the event that we were doing went over, and it went almost until 1 o'clock in the morning. I had been there since like 8. That's way more than, is that 13? That's more than 13 hours. That's a whole long day. But we didn't leave till like 1 o'clock in the morning. And, or maybe I didn't get there at 8. Maybe I got there like sometime in the afternoon, but it didn't end till like 1 in the morning. Anyways, the whole point of what I'm trying to say is I was doing something administratively, and I was in the office, and I had the door open, and 2 of the employees came in, and they just wanted to talk to me about just random. They just wanted to, it's like, a puppy, like when you come home from a long day of work and you have animals at home, or you have children, or you have a husband or wife, they need your attention. You can't not pay attention to the people in your household because you had a frustrating day at work. right? And that's like a point of getting to maturity and understanding what it takes to give to relationships. Regardless of the day that you had when you walked out that house, when you come into that house, you have responsibilities to the people that live in that space who are waiting for your energy output, right? And the same thing when you go to work and you have employees and in relationships and things like that. But I had a really frustrating day, and I wasn't in the mood because I had work to do, and I was not in the mood to play. It was like little puppies that wanted my attention. And I was so frustrated. I'm like, you guys see, I'm sitting here trying, in my head, I'm like, you see, I'm sitting here trying to do something and you just want to play? Like, why is your playtime or the attention that you need from me right now more important than me getting done what I have to get done for my job? That's so inconsiderate and so selfish to me. But again, like you think like a puppy. Is it selfish for a puppy or your animals or your kids or your husband or your spouse to want your attention when you come into the house just because you had a bad day? No, it's not. It's not selfish. That is part of life and growing up and having responsibilities, and you have to manage that. But I was still very young, and the first thing, I got so frustrated, and I looked at them and I said, I have animals at home who need my attention. I don't need to come to work. It was so rude, guys. It was so rude. And this is me telling them myself how incredibly rude my comment was to them. And all they wanted to do was to have my attention, right? In a playful manner. And they were like, wow. And I was like, even after I said it, I was like, wow, that's so rude. I basically just, these two employees, I just compared them to my animals at the house. It was so rude. I was immediately, when it came out of my mouth, I thought, ugh, if a manager said that to me, it would be a problem. And but it's the process of like growing up and maturing and being able to handle stressors and understanding what your emotional output limit is. And then once if you take that example, and you relay that to more extreme, cases of people doing extreme things like, mass shootings and suicides and things like that, because they have gotten to, obviously it's more things that going on with that than just energy output, but it's also a world where you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with within yourself. And then having to every single day step into the world and still give this output of emotional energy to the outside world when you don't have it within yourself. Your energy reserves, your emotional reserves are at 0, but the world outside still expects you to show up like you're at 100%. That can drive anybody crazy, right? And so it's about understanding your limits and pulling back when you need to pull back. Maybe I should have took some vacation time at that point, right? Instead of mouthing off very rudely to people who had no ill intentions toward me. And then having to backtrack and make it up to them big time, because I was just rude. It was just rude comment to make. Just because I was dealing with whatever I was dealing with, it was still a rude comment to make. And understanding that before you get to that point where you do hurt somebody or you hurt yourself because you're not understanding what you need for you. All right. So that's my little spiel on that. All right, so I'm going to do this and I'm going to wrap it up, actually, because, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up because it's also about understanding. This is, you're having some, wow, guys, I can't get a different message here. But again, if you look at this person, all these people in this maze trying to figure some shit out, right? They're all trying to figure some shit out. And then you have toil and labor. The relationships are becoming a burden. These relationships are becoming a burden. And in thought, there's somebody in thought about all of the burdens that they have, the relationships that they have. You see this man, he's clearly thinking about this woman, but he's very hesitant, reticent to engage with her. It's one thing to look at her in a picture, and admire that picture. It's a whole other thing to want to engage with that person, because relationships get complicated, specifically when you have a lot on your plate. So again, it's about somebody wants to engage. So specifically, if you're dealing with a romantic situation, you have someone who wants to engage. They admire you, but there's and I hate to tell you this because it's frustrating, and you're just going to, the whole 30 minutes of up to now, me telling you this came to a head in this message. Somebody is going through a difficult time, And you're going to have to let this person figure it out for themselves. Even when I said before about whether it's you going through this or you contemplating why somebody else is fickle with their emotional output towards you and allowing them the space to figure it out. Sometimes giving people grace to figure their own shit out and not be pushy or needy or yes, you deserve stability, especially consistency with a person. And you have to understand, you have to love yourself enough to understand that if somebody is not giving you the thing that you feel like you deserve, then it's time for you to step back. Don't continue pushing because you have no idea what that other person is going through or why they are being the way. Yeah, man in the reverse here. Emotionally, he's topsy-turvy. He has too many decisions. He has too many things he has to give his attention to, or it could be a female, too many things that they have to give their attention to, and it's a burden for them. So while you are on this person's mind, they are more comfortable with you being in that picture and staring at you and admiring you and thinking about you than interacting with you because they just have too many things pulling at them in too many different directions right now. And there needs to be some understanding of that. And I'm not saying you have to wait, because people think that if you're not pushing someone to a finish line or a goal that you have for the two of you, then you aren't working towards a relationship. Sometimes you have to allow people to walk their path. And if you are not on that person's path for the moment, you have to accept that and you have to allow them to figure their path out for themselves. And you have to fall back. And if falling back means moving on, then that's what you're going to have to do. But it's about falling back and allowing this person to figure it out because they are overwhelmed. They have too much going on. They have too much pulling at them at too many different directions. And they are more comfortable with you admiring you from afar than engaging with you because they know they can't give you the consistency that you need or deserve at the moment. Okay, so I'm just going to pull one oracle card and then I'm going to wrap it up. Because I keep saying I'm going to wrap it up, but I am actually going to pull one oracle card and then I am actually going to wrap it up. Jeez. Inner peace. I can't get away from this message for today. So it literally, you saw that. You saw it on camera. We've been talking about this all the video long. All right, so I'm going to just read a little bit because we've been talking about inner peace this entire. I don't think there's anything more can really say about this, but I'm just going to read from the book. It says, know that you are unique and valuable. Be yourself and attract the love specifically created for you, right? So this says, there are a few things more challenging to your self-esteem than living without that special someone in your life or being in an unhappy relationship. Many people wonder, what's wrong with me? Of course, the truth is that there is nothing wrong with you, although it can certainly feel that way. Another common unhealthy attitude is that other people or the opposite sex are in the wrong. Neither of these ideas are helpful. So this goes back to what I said about how finding inner peace also means having enough grace to allow other people to disengage when they do not have the emotional energy reserve to give you what you need in that relationship. Instead of blaming them, being hostile towards them, saying they're narcissists or we go through the gambit. When somebody can't give us the emotional output that we want from them, we run them through the mud instead of stepping back and trying to understand why this person is pulling back, why they can't be consistent with you. Maybe there's something going on with them that they need to work out. And loving yourself enough to say, I'm going to give you that grace and that space to work that out, but you can't pull me through the mud while you're doing it. So we're just going to have to fall back until you figure it out. And then if I'm available and you're available and we're on the same page, we can move forward. But for right now, it's time for me to fall back and allow you to figure it out. You cannot figure everything out for everyone. It's their job to figure it out. And it doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. Sometimes it is the other person. Okay? Allow them to figure it out. All right. And so I'm not going to read anything more of that because it's basically just saying what we've been saying this entire time. So I'm going to I'm going to do a little bit of fun reading because this is a heavy reading. I said I'm going to wrap it up, but I'm going to do the, well, not necessarily fun depending on what cards come out, but I'm going to do a love oracle reading because I haven't done that in a while. And then I'll wrap up the video. So this is specific, very, very specific to somebody's drinking really heavily to cope with their anxiety. Somebody has a lot of anxiety about stepping into a relationship and they're drinking really heavy to cope with their anxiety. And something about a person, somebody here is really afraid. Somebody, you know what it is? They don't trust themselves. I say it's a healing. Again, healing. This whole reading has been about healing. There is somebody here who needs to heal before they can't do it. They got a lot of issues that they need to figure out. It's like somebody wants someone really, really bad, right? But it's like right person, wrong time for them. And they have so much anxiety. It's like their feet are stuck in the mud. They can't move forward. They have so much anxiety because they know this is the right person, but they got to heal, honey, because they are stressed. They have anxiety. They are literally drinking because they know they're going to lose this person because they can't make a move on it because they haven't healed. And so it's just a cycle of anxiety and fear and worry and want and desire and fear. And they're stuck. This is like the devil. This ain't even the Eight of Swords. This is the devil. They are stuck. But they got to figure it out. They can't make that move. And they want you to make the move because it alleviates the stress of them having to do it and not being able to live up to expectations. They fear that they cannot live up to the expectations of a relationship because they don't have, like I said, the energy output. They just don't have the capacity for it right now. But they know you're the person, but they can't give to it the way that they want to. And so if you're the person that pursues it, if you're the person that pushes forward, then you're going to be the one that does all the work and all of the responsibility of maintaining a healthy, consistent relationship is going to fall on you because they know they can't do it. They need to heal first. You need to let this person go. I'm going to just tell you my advice. What you do is what you do. All the things I said are true about the situation if it resonates. The advice that I'm going to give you is to let this person go. Let this person go. Something has to do with their family as well as stressing them out. The best thing you can do, breakup of a family. So this person is going through a divorce right now. If it's a situation where they're not married to the person that they're with, maybe they got kids with somebody, they have a serious magnetic attraction towards you, but their relationship, their home life is falling the F apart. And that's really stressing them the hell out. So I would say let somebody make them prove it. And make them prove it is about, I think they're still dealing with another situation that has them really stressed out. You don't have to fall back on this one. I know that's not what anybody wants to hear, but there's something here about needing to fall back. This person got some things they need to figure out. You have the healing card twice. Healing on top of healing. You see the way those two cards fell out? Healing on top of healing. Oh boy. Yeah, so this is about somebody who's married. You guys, you're dealing with somebody who is married. Yeah, mask, angry. This person, yeah. Apology, you got away, waiting, forgiveness, differences. Somebody here they're going through a breakup. And it might have been a breakup of a marriage or somebody who literally just got married and it did not work out. Like it just fell apart. And that might be the reason why this person has so much anxiety about starting something else new, because it's like they weren't married for 2 seconds before that relationship fell apart. And they're not understanding that. They just like marriage is supposed to fix everything, right? I think this is coming from one of those people who literally thinks marriage is supposed to fix everything. If you had problems before you two got married, you're going to have those problems after you get married. And this is like, this is a couple that should have went to pre-marriage counseling before they decided to tie the knot. Because there was something, impulsive decision to get married because they had been together for a long time, where they were thinking that getting married was going to solve other problems. There's something here about a young couple. I think it's like a young couple, somebody in their 20s. And it doesn't have to be, but I'm specifically picking up on a young couple. And it didn't solve their problems. And the marriage is breaking, it's falling apart. They're partying a lot, they're drinking a lot. They like you. You have a real strong attraction. But they need to resolve the issues with their marriage or that relationship. I don't know if they're divorced. I don't know if they're going through a divorce. I don't know. But it's a relationship, and a long-term committed relationship that fell apart unexpectedly. It was a huge disappointment. And they can't really figure out why that relationship didn't work out. Like, I did what I was supposed to do. I married the person. How come it didn't work? And if that didn't work, that did not work. They did what they were supposed to do with that relationship, and it didn't work. It fell apart like that. What makes them think that it's going to work with you? And so they're trying really hard not to take you seriously, trying really hard not to take you, but they're really attracted to you on a deeper level, but they are masking it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to acknowledge it, but they can't stop thinking about you, but they still have all this other shit they need to resolve. Somebody here is going through it. I think you may have hooked up with this person. Listen to your intuition. Maybe they're not telling you the truth about what's the situation that they got going on. Maybe they didn't even tell you that they were married, or why that relationship fell apart. They feel like you two are too different. You need to practice forgiveness. You're sitting here waiting on this person. This person has anger issues. They feel like you were a rebound at the time. They want to apologize for that because they know that you're more than that, even though they treated you like that. This person got a lot going on. They got a lot going on. I can run through a whole list of the emotional shit that this person got going on. And at the end of the day, the only thing that is a takeaway from this situation is that this person got a lot of shit that they need to deal with. You got two healing cards dropped on top of each other. And until they figure that out, this is going nowhere. It's going nowhere. And trying to push it forward is not going to make it any closer, get you any closer to getting the outcome that you want from this person. I understand that you get really happy when they text you, when they decide to text you, when they have that slight emotional space where they can give you some attention. Like, it's like a small little reserved emotional space, and they just send you a text or, something, a quick message, and you think it's going somewhere, and then it doesn't, because that was literally all the emotional reserve they had for a text message. When I say this person is going through it, baby, they're going through it. You need to fall back. They have your number. Once they figure it out, if they figure it out and they come to whatever resolve they need to come to, and then they build up that emotional reserve. If they want you, they'll come for you. Okay. And that is the message that I have for you guys. I really hope that helped. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, positive feedback and comments in the comment section. And I will see you next time.